Hola, buenos dias. Today, we get to write more equations of lines in slope-intercept form, but today we'll also be focusing on writing equations of lines perpendicular or parallel to other lines. So let's start with a little review from what we learned in the previous lesson. Writing an equation slope-intercept form, again, there's two things we want. We need the slope, which is m, and our y-intercept, which is b. So if we look at our slope, or look for our slope, we got to find a couple points on our line. So that would be a good one, and this looks good as well. So rise 2, left 3. So when you rise and go to the left, right, that would be a negative slope, but you should be able to see. So up to left 3, so y equals negative 2/3 x. And our y-intercept, well, it appears to be at 1.5, but let's try to be sure. So to do that, we can pick a point. Let's use 4, -1. I'm going to use a different color. 4, -1, and our slope is negative 2/3. So like we did in the previous lesson, y equals, so -1 equals m x plus b. -1 will equal -2 times 4 gets me -8/3. And then we need to add 8/3. Well, -1 is really -3/3. So now we can add our 8, and we get 11. Oops, excuse me, 11. When you add 8/3 over, we're going to get 5/3 for b. So good thing we didn't say 1.5, because we found out it's not 1.5, it's 5/3. So negative 2/3 x plus 5/3 is our equation for that line. Again, that's review from the previous lesson. Now, graphing an equation not in slope-intercept form, we haven't gone over it yet. But we can easily put it in slope-intercept form by solving our equation for y. So we get a y equals. So here's y. We're going to want to get that all alone. So first thing we can do is subtract x. So 3y. And I'm just going to put the x first, so it's an mx plus b form. So subtract x to both sides, we would get 6x plus 12. And then we got to get rid of the 3, so divide everything by 3. And we're going to get 2x plus 4. So if we want to graph this, our y-intercept is at 4. And our slope is 2, or 2/1, so up 2/1. So your graph should look something like that. So if it's not in slope-intercept form, we solve for y. All right, so now getting into the meat and potatoes, what we're trying to do today. It says write equations for parallel and perpendicular lines. So remember, perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. Parallel lines have slopes that are equal or the same. So it says write the slope-intercept equation for a line passing through 6, -4 and is perpendicular to a line with the equation y equals 3x plus 1. So remember, we need the slope and the y-intercept. Start, we don't know either. We know it goes through a point. We know it's perpendicular to this. Now, we do know that perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. So the opposite reciprocal of 3 is -1/3. So now we got our slope, and now we got to find b. So this part, again, is just like yesterday. So y is -4, m is -1/3, x is 6, plus b. So then we solve. So negative 4. This is going to be negative 2. And then add 2, so b is negative 2. So now we got b, we got our slope. So our equation is y equals negative 1/3 x minus 2. It kind of looks like a 3. Sorry, it looks like an 8. Now it looks like a 3. So again, perpendicular, opposite, reciprocal, negative 1. So let's try another one. Now it says through negative 3, 2, and parallel to y equals negative 2x minus 8. So important part here is the slope. We know our slope is going to be the same because it's going to be parallel. So slope is going to be negative 2. And then again we plug into y equals mx plus b. So y equals mx plus b. 2 equals 6 plus b. Subtract the 6. So b will be negative 4. Got our slope and y-intercept, so we can say y equals negative 2x minus 4. Now through 2, 3, perpendicular to y equals 3/5 x plus 6. This would be a good one to pause the video on and try it yourself. See if you can get it. Then come back in, check. Why are all these chairs getting bent on the bottom? Are you guys all that fat? I swear. Look at this. Who is sitting in these chairs? Actually, we could make this a geometry problem. See, it's missing these perpendicular bars, which add support, and so that's probably part of the problem. Or you guys just need to lay off the Halloween candy. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Perpendicular, so opposite, reciprocal. So our slope will be negative 5 over 3. Now we find our b, or our y-intercept. So y equals m x plus b. So that would be 3. So you shouldn't have to use a calculator for this. Negative 5 times 2 is negative 10 over 3. Gonna need a common denominator, which is gonna be 3. So if I multiply by 3 on top and bottom, I'm gonna get 9/3 equals negative 10/3 plus b. Scroll so we can see everything. Add to this side, and we're gonna get 19/3 for b. So y equals negative 5/3 x plus 19 over 3. More examples. Well, these are a couple of unique examples. It says, what is the equation of a line parallel to y equals 1,247 and passes through the point 1, negative 7? Well, you should know something peculiar about this equation. There's no slope, or 0 slope. Now a y equals equation is going to be going left to right. It's going to intersect the y-axis at, in this case, 1,247. So, parallel. So if it's parallel, we should have another horizontal line, so it's still going to remain y equals. And then we look at our point. Well, what does y equal? Hopefully you see that that is negative 7. Done. Now how about a line perpendicular to y equals -3, passing through the point -3, 2. So now we're perpendicular. So perpendicular to a horizontal would be a vertical, which has an undefined slope. So you should know that this one, since it's perpendicular to a y equals, where there's no slope, it's going to be x equals. And look at your point. What does x equal? It equals -3. So just a couple of those unique examples with vertical or horizontal lines. Hopefully you learned something today. Or if you didn't learn anything, maybe you go on a diet because you guys are bending my chairs. There's your assignment 23 through 44 on page 185. It's supposed to be kind of crappy out this weekend, so after you go to the football game, you can work on your geometry. See you Monday.